Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, fine people. It's great to have you here. You are tuned in to the Badass Counseling Show, a live taping of a lightning round where we take your questions lickety-split. Whether you are tuning in from Boise, Idaho, Littleton, Colorado, Yakima Valley, or Sweden, or from San Miguel de Allende, it's great to have you tuning into our show. I am joined in studio by Rob the Rocket, but I'm also joined in absentia, in spirit, by Sophia the Artist. And of course, Casey actually is not in the booth. She's remote, but she's joining us by text. She is in the middle of big things. That's all I know about that. Rob, what say ye today?
You ever use ChatGPT? I mean, I'm really here. This is not a simulation of Rob, but you ever use it?
I do, and I get inconsistent results. Rob?
Well, it all depends on your prompt. And the latest version, GPT-5, for the first time actually learns from GPT-4.
Wow.
So we have the machine learning from itself, which could be dangerous.
Wow. I just punched in yesterday, what's the best day of the week to book cheapest flights on like booking sites and so forth?
Fair question.
Right away, because it used to be always Tuesdays. I punched in the question twice. It said Sunday. Then I thought I'd punch in, well, what's the worst day of the week? And it said Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. All right, let's get started. Here we go. I've got Marin Rose here on TikTok asking the question, I just learned in therapy that I fawn when dysregulated. How can I stop? If you are fawning in a situation, you use the word dysregulated. That's a psychological term. I'm going to sort of set that one aside. Basically, let's just go with what you say. I fawn. Right? Some people fight. Some people flee. Some people fawn. Some people go silent. All right? If you are fawning, in other words, if you are engaged, in fact, I'm going to just open it up and say this. If you are engaged in any sort of behavior where you are doing something that you don't like that you're doing, that somehow is working against your interests in life, invariably, 99.999 times out of 100, what I tell people that 99.99 times out of 100, it's being driven by a fear. If you're ever trying to figure out why someone is doing something that doesn't make sense, even if that person is yourself, always ask the question, what's the primary fear driving the behavior? Speculate the answers, make a list, literally write out the possible answers. Just wing it, brainstorm possible answers for what the fear might be causing me to do this. Jot down those answers and then go with the biggest, hairiest, scariest one. I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet on this one. I'll bet my left testicle if Vegas were giving me odds that what is driving you to fawn is fear of not being liked, fear of being rejected, fear of being hurt in some way whatsoever. So then, if that be true, whatever the fear may be, put it in one sentence. What is the one fear in one sentence or less? And see, the thing is, when you're doing your journaling, this pen and paper are so good. Why? Why is it better than anything else? Why? First of all, it forces you to get all your feelings out on paper, but then you can look at them and deconstruct it even further. But the goal is to get it down to as tight as you can. What's the one sentence? What really are you afraid of? And I'm willing to bet, Marin, that you fear being rejected, well, then you got to ask yourself, well, why? Why do I fear that? Because it means I'm not liked. It means something like that. And that is echoing some previous fear or somewhere back in your past where you got the message that you are unliked or that you don't have worth. And so this would become an echo of that. So it's not the echo that is the problem. It's the original message. So if you really want to heal your shit, Marin, you go back and you find the original origins of these messages that you fear being conveyed today. All right, next question.
On a related note, Rachel on YouTube says, what helped you build your self-esteem over time?
What helps you build your self-esteem?
What helped you is what she said.
What helped me build my self-esteem over time? Well, some people would say Sven never had a self-esteem problem. He was the most arrogant fuck ever. But the arrogance, the bragging, was compensating for insecurity inside. What helps you build it, ultimately, if you're having to build your self-esteem over time, what you're fundamentally doing is you're fighting against the message inside of you that says, I'm not wanted. I'm not good enough. I suck. I'm unlovable. I'm a loser. Who I am doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. I shouldn't trust my own voice. You're fighting some message inside of yourself. So if you're trying to build self-confidence, when you've got that message inside of you, it's like you've got one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brake. You're fighting against yourself. The only true solution is to go inside and find that origin message or messages where you got the messages originally that say you suck. You didn't come out of the fucking womb saying, I suck. That is not your origin, your native voice. So it's going into those original messages, beginning to extract them. How do we do that? By journaling, by saying, why? Where is this coming from? My mother died at the age of 93. And all of her years, she was a soul counselor, just like I am. She ran a suicide hotline. She counseled people in faith settings and in non-faith settings for decades. And one of the things that she always used to say is, Sven, always remember, naming the beast is half the problem. And we so think naming the beast is naming the other person. Well, that can be a piece of it, but it's also naming drilling all the way down. What are the root messages that I've been taught to believe about myself? What are my core beliefs? And that's, of course, what my book is for. Books, There's a Hole in My Love Cup and Badass Wisdom. These are to help you drill down to identify those core beliefs, naming the beast. Because that is what you're fighting against. If you're trying to build up your self-confidence, you're fighting against the message inside that says you suck, you're not good enough, you're unwantable, something like that. Until you get that message out of there, you're going to be fighting against that your whole life, one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake. So that's where it begins, by changing those core beliefs. And I had a client, I was working with a client in England this morning at 7 a.m. for 2 hours, and then came here to the studio. And she said, Sven, it really was what you said. That second step after I began the change in core beliefs, as you like to say, Sven, engaging in actions consistent with that belief. But so many people want to engage in the actions first. And this is why I say in my book, trying to change behaviors never changes behaviors long term. You have to change the core beliefs first, and then begin the actions to flow out of that. That's how you change your self-confidence. It's not by just changing your actions. You have to go down to those core beliefs and then engage in beginning to change your behaviors. Next question. Susan over on Facebook says, how do you co-parent with someone who's always the victim? Very simple. In a way, it's the same way you would co-parent with someone who is a total dick. You have firm, hard boundaries and do not back down. You do not engage in their story. They are trying to write the narrative of the equation. And if they are always the victim, and the fact that you are now co-parenting says you were parenting at one time. And I have to believe that them always being the victim is not a new phenomenon. It's been there the whole time. And so you stepping out, whether you divorced them or they divorced you, the point is that this playing the victim is not new. That means they've been writing that story for a long time. They've been writing that as the narrative of your relationship in your life for a very long time. And so how do you co-parent? It begins with you, first of all, hearing your voice and believing my voice matters. Because no doubt you've been told since you were a kid, your voice doesn't fucking matter. So does your voice matter? Yes. Then you've got to draw hard boundaries. Do not back down. Do not back down. Do not back down. Do not engage in the story that they are the victim. Do not allow your children to buy into the story that they have to take care of this victim, quote unquote, that is the other parent, Susan. All right? You cannot engage the story and reduce. Just keep your distance, keep your boundaries, what you need to do. But above all else, Susan, above all else, if you're co-parenting or if you're in a situation where you're not sure what to do, the single biggest thing is really what I was talking about just a minute ago. You have to get out all those voices inside of you from your present and your past that cause you to distrust your own voice. And you need to begin to trust your own fucking voice, Susan. That's been the problem the whole fucking time. You don't trust yourself. That's got to stop. You've got to begin to believe that your voice is right, that you've been right the whole time. Not on every last fucking thing, but that your intuition is right. And that relationship between yourself and your intuition, that is fucking gold. That is the essence of life. And so it's getting out all the voices, all the people in your present life, but especially all those voices. And it can be a dead parent, it can be anything, causing you to distrust that inner voice, because that's where life begins. All right, next question. All right. Brandy B says on TikTok, what advice can you give to a new counselor? I get this one now and then. I like this question. It's playful. There are so many things, but ultimately, Brandy B, single biggest thing you can do to change your work. And I have tons of clients who are therapists and psychologists, psychiatrists even. And I tell them all the same thing. Ultimately, you have to do the exact same work that you are trying to counsel people on. My entire method of my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and all my other books, all of my work is predicated on the fact of the home I grew up in, my particular background, the fact that I was in a suicidal depression for 12 years, that I got myself out of. I just couldn't find a therapist who was able to really help me, and I had to figure it out myself. So every single thing that I counsel, I personally have used. And I have subsequently used with literally thousands of clients over the years. And patients when I was a chaplain in an emergency room of a level 1 trauma center, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm only using that which I know fully works. Now, are there things that I haven't used? Is there good knowledge in books and other people's experiences? Absolutely. But the bottom line isn't even the tools you're using. The bottom line is, have you healed yourself? Now, the truth is, am I fully healed? No, there's always new stuff. But yeah, generally I am. Yeah. And have you healed? Have you actually gone into yourself and done the deep work to find the origins of the messages that are sucking the fucking life out of you? Do you trust your own curiosity? Do you trust your own voice? Are you willing to push a fucking client? And it's learning also to trust your own voice more and more. Because if you don't trust your own voice, you're only operating at half strength. I have clients who are in investments, running Wall Street companies and hedge funds. No lie. Billionaires. No lie. I had one in my home 3 months ago because he insisted on doing counseling in person. I don't keep an office in Manhattan anymore. So I brought him into my home. Insisted. And everything, whether it's your work as a therapist or his work, he says, Sven, I do my worst work when I'm not listening to myself. I said, what causes you to not listen to yourself? He says, the other voices you talk about. Oh, really? No shit. I had a client years ago who was a professional gambler. You've seen this person on TV. I'm not going to reveal the gender. You've seen the person on TV. And this person said to me, Sven, I don't know when I sit down at a table whether or not I'm going to win, but I know when I'm going to lose. I said, how's that? And this person said, because I'm off inside me. I'm off. And so I'm forcing bets. I'm forcing a win, and I don't win. And in the end, I walk away losing. I know when I'm going to lose. And so it's the same. Do you trust yourself? Are you trusting your instincts? Are you trusting your intuition? And that is determined by the line of communication you have between yourself and your own intuition. Everything depends on that. And the thing that's going to block that is those messages you've been taught about yourself. And until you get those out of there, you are not flying at full wingspan. Your wings are still clipped. You are not flying at full fucking power. Next question.
Hey, Sven, I think you may have just answered this question from Karen. on YouTube. Sven, how do you take on all these people's problems and keep yourself okay?
To be totally honest with you guys, how do I take on all these people's problems and still be okay? I grew up in a home where my father was clergy, my mother did soul counseling, and she ran education programs of massive churches. And in their final decades of her career, she taught early childhood education at the graduate level. All right. And she raised 6 kids of her own. And one of my brothers was cancer care hospice worker for fucking 40 years. I have siblings in this field in social work and counseling. And the notion of burnout has been a conversation piece in my bloodline. I have 4 uncles who were clergy. It's just part of the conversation. So it's always been in my consciousness. All right. And for me, if you think of your life as a love cup, right? We're all going through life trying to get our love cup filled. Every one of us. So we're just trying to get love poured into our love cup, right? And the essence of my work is that most of us have a hole in our love cup, or we can't find someone to pour love into our love cup, or we've got crud in our love cup, manure and rocks and shit. So we got to get the manure out. We got to ultimately find people or attract people who want to pour love into us, but we got to patch that hole in the bottom of our love cup. Okay. And so we learn how to get that crud out, and we do the tools that I teach to heal that. Well, once you learn how to get the crud out of your love cup and how to extract those viruses, those messages, those core beliefs you've been taught about yourself. And that's what makes my counseling different from most counseling out there. I'm trying to drill down to the core beliefs you were taught about yourself. Everything begins and ends there. Once you get in the habit of doing that, and you develop tools, or you find tools like the tools I teach, you can do it very, 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 very quickly and efficiently. And so the chance of burnout, if you actually learn the tools and learn the disciplines and use them, the chance of burnout goes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's just like, if you're active in exercise, which I am, but I'm not like some guys and some women who are just in really great shape. But not only that, they take care of their body. They eat healthy foods. My girlfriend's always trying to stuff vegetables down my throat, and I'm saying no. But she does. But I say no, and I want to eat like fun things because I had eat lots of vegetables growing up, and maybe that's part of why I'm so healthy, but I want to eat fun things. What's the point? The people who take care of their bodies well they have cheat days, so they can handle eating a pizza at 9:00, a whole pepperoni pizza and some, a big bowl of ice cream on a Friday night. Why? Because they'll go right back to their disciplines. They know how to flush it out of their system. They know how to this, they know how to that, and they have their systems. So you ask, how do I take on all of other people's problems? 20, 30, 50 hours a week. Considering all the work I do on the side and everything else, all the volunteer work and working with the homeless and veterans and shit like that. How? If I'm totally honest with you right now, when I am in session with someone, or even if I'm randomly talking to Claudio, a guy I know from my coffee shop, nicest guy in the world, new friend. And, let's say he's telling me about his, brother dying. I'm making something up. I am fully there with him. Whenever I am in session or talking with someone, I fall in love with every single person I meet that I'm counseling. Every single client, I fall in love with them. Male or female, old or young. Doesn't matter the gender, non-binary, trans, whatever, doesn't matter. I fall in love with every single person, and that person has my absolute attention, my full compassion, and the full power of my limited mental powers. But the second I walk away, I don't care anymore. I can't. I give myself permission to not care. Now, it's obviously different with my children, my nieces and nephews, my brothers and sisters, my girlfriend, my dear friends like Rob. It's different, okay? But I have to give myself permission to, the nice language be to say to let go, and that's true. But my language, me, I'm aggressive. It's like, no, I have to give myself permission to not care because I can, to use that old phrase, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him fucking drink. I can give you all of my energy. I can pump all of the love of the universe and compassion and aggressiveness and helping you get down to your problems. I can do everything I fucking can. But if you don't do the work afterwards, if you don't do the training in the off season, it doesn't fucking matter how great the coach is. All right? So I have to let go. It's not my fucking problem. It's like I hate to compare myself, and I'm not comparing, I'm just giving an analogy to a surgeon or a doctor that says, hey, you got to fucking do the PT here. And if you do X, Y, and Z, yeah, you have a high chance of a very good chance of healing this shit. But if the motherfucker doesn't go to PT, those wonderful people who do physical therapy or occupational therapy or speech therapy, if you don't go do your PT, hey man, it ain't my fucking problem. You're the jagoff who didn't want to do the work. You just wanted the fucking pill and I'm a fucking Dumbo. No, you got to do the fucking work. So I pour all my love in and then I let it go. It's just, I can't. Because I only want to work with people and I give my best to everyone. And then to use my parents' language, it's in God's hands after that. It's in God's hands. And you know, you want to, one more thing on this. You want to know what my parents' template was? And this impressed upon me. I was a Lutheran pastor for a number of years. And even if we move out of the religious language in our own lives, my parents' language was this. My parents had 6 kids. My brother enlisted during Vietnam. All right. My father had tried to sneak into World War II at age 17 in 1945. So it's a bit of one of my uncles was a missionary in Ecuador. All right. I mean, just some really fucking interesting people. My parents had 6 kids, 5 of them boys. One of my brothers would hitchhike all across the country. I used to take these long road trips in this shitty old beat up Honda Civic. Okay. So you got 6 kids, you worry. And mom and dad would lay in bed at night. Mom told me years later in her 70s, 80s, 90s, she said, your father and I would lay in bed at night and we would worry about you kids. If you all weren't still at home or you're off, in this part of the world or you're off, military or whatever. And I'd gone in the military for a few years and this sort of thing. You worry about your kids. And how do you allow yourself to sleep when you have 6 kids scattered around the world? And mom said, and this is using their language, which is religious language, bear with me just for a moment. But mom said, and I remember her telling me this in her 80s, she said, your father and I would pray this prayer, Lord, speaking to God, Lord, these are your children. You gave them to us to tend while they are in our care. When they are not in our care, we give them back to you. Now, please help us to sleep. And so in other words, there was a letting go. There was basically mom and dad saying, we're in bed. We can't do anything. It's out of our control. We got to fucking let it go. We got to allow ourselves to let go of caring and just put it back in God's hands, hand it over to the universe, whatever your language is, and go back to sleep. And that's what enabled them. So you ask, how am I able to take on everyone's problems? I allow myself to not care. Plus, I'm a fucking avid user of the techniques I teach you guys, whether it's journaling or some of the other techniques I teach for just flushing out my own shit. Because occasionally I will get a story that kicks my ass. It's like, okay, now I got to sit down because I'm in the business of taking helping people take the rocks out of their own love cups and taking people's rocks. And I have a wonderful rock garden in the back of my house of all these people's life rocks and beliefs, bullshit beliefs they've been taught about themselves and pains and so forth. And I make a wonderful rock garden out of it. But the better you get at flushing out your own shit, you can take on other people's shit and it doesn't fucking weigh you down because you have your own disciplines in place, just like somebody who's physically in shape has their own disciplines in place and they use those to flush out, the fucking pepperoni pizza and the 5 gin and tonics they had the night before. Much more to come right after this.
I've been doing some real healing work in my life, and I mean hardcore. But I've been craving something new to level up. A friend of mine told me about this badass counselor. I gotta admit, I rolled my eyes. Then I watched a few of his videos, and yes, this is the guy. I went and got his audiobook, Badass Wisdom. Holy shit. Absolute ass-kicking, inspiring, deep, powerful shit, period. If you don't get this book, you're making a huge mistake. So do you got the guts to go big with your self-care? Go to badasscounseling.com, get the book Badass Wisdom now.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with a live taping of the Badass Counseling Show Lightning Round. I've got Ricky Munch in Sweden asking the question. I've been doing a lot of coaching sessions, which is great. It definitely works with changing my core beliefs. I choose these topics. How do I know if these are the right ones? No, you're not. That's not core beliefs, Ricky. That's not. And I'm not saying it to be a dick. I'm sorry if it came off that way. No, if you're doing coaching sessions and changing your core beliefs, that's not how it works. Your core beliefs are the ones that are buried underneath the bullshit beliefs. And it's not something you can identify with your own brain per se. And if you're doing it with coach, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They may have other good techniques, but when it comes to core belief, they don't know what they're doing. This is my shit. This is the shit I wrote. This is different. The way you identify and know what your core beliefs, and the mere fact that you say, how do I know if these core beliefs are the right ones? If you have to ask that question, they're not the right ones. More important, or let me put it this way, more importantly, the real problem still exists. And the real problem is you have inside of you core beliefs that you've been taught about yourself that are not your authentic self. And those are either what you're choosing from, or those are what are causing you to distrust your own voice. And until you get those bullshit beliefs out, it doesn't matter what you choose. You're going to question your choices. You're not going to be able to carry out what you do choose. Why? Because you got these fucking messages inside saying you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to do it. And you're fighting that shit. Or don't trust your own voice, or you don't matter. You have to get these voices out, people. You have to drill down to the bullshit messages you have been taught about yourself. Until you drill down and extract those, identify and extract those voices, you're wasting your fucking time. And Ricky, I know your heart's in the right place. I know that. And I know you are working at this shit, but you have to drill down to those core fucking beliefs. And Ricky, just for the record, we literally are right this moment putting Love Cup into Swedish. We are. In the vernacular of my people down in Småland. My translator is from Småland. So it will have a Småland lilt to it. But for now, at least get the English, because you have to identify those core beliefs. Because once you get those voices out, here's what happens, Ricky. As you get those voices out, your own voice rises up. And you want to know how you'll know those messages and those beliefs are you, the authentic ones? Do you want to know how you'll know? You'll just feel it. And you'll feel it in the form of energy. And I don't mean like some kooky ass fucking new agey shit. I mean, you'll just have more energy, and you'll know it in the form of clarity. You won't be asking if it's right or not, or if this is the right one. The mere fact that you're asking if it's the right one says you still have a voice inside of you saying, don't trust your own voice. Don't trust your own voice. And it's that message that I want to fucking yank out of you. But I can't, so you have to. And that's what these tools are for. But you're on the right path, Ricky. You are on the right path. You got to get into the fucking book, dude. You really do. I believe in you. You can do this shit. You can do it. All right, next question. Q's fan, obviously a New Yorker, asked the question, what if you're not sure what the problem is, but there's a problem? Well, I'm going to assume you're talking about something inside of yourself. But even if you're not, if you're talking about something in interpersonal relationships or in your career, where you want to start, I would actually start, this is going to sound fucking insane, but if you and I were in session right now and you said, I know I have, there's this problem, but I don't know what the problem is. You want to know what I would honestly say to you? And you'd want to punch me in the fucking face, but I would ask the question anyway. And you're like, no, what's the question? I'd say, what's the problem? Well, I don't really know. Yeah, but if you were to take a guess at it right now. So Q's fan 1970, this person on TikTok, I'm asking you right now, if you were to just take a shot at it, knowing you could change your mind in 5 minutes. What is the problem? Put it in one sentence or less. Do your best. You can change your mind. And then you put it in a sentence, write that fucking sentence down. And I guarantee you, you're either in the ballpark or you're on fucking home plate. That's where you start. And if you can't start there, then start with this question. When? When did the problem start? I don't know. And I don't know, as I talk about in the book, when I hear the words, I don't know, in a counseling session, that to me is like the fucking lights go off. It's like, oh yeah, whoa, I got one. I'm going to reel this fucker in. I love it when people say, I don't know. You want to know why? Because all I got to do is work it, finagle it a bit, dig, play a bit, and I'm going to dig down, and guess what? Right behind that, I don't know, right on the other side of I don't know is the answer. It's right there. It's always right there. So you got to give people permission to open up. You got to give them a little room. You got to say, change your fucking mind in 5 fucking minutes. When I counsel with someone, I always, in the opening session that's either 6 or 7 hours long, I always tell them in the first 15, 20 minutes, I say one of the most important things that you have to understand in our work together is that I want you to change your mind. In fact, I want you to change your mind as many times as possible. And people look at me like, what? What? I've never even heard such a thing. I say, yeah, because if you're changing your mind, that's an indicator that you've thought about something more or you've felt something more. It means you've had greater interaction with, greater communion with something, and you found something that feels more right. If you can change your mind, that's an indication of progress. That's an indication of change. I want you to grow. And so if you got a mind change, I want it. If and only if, however, it does not come from a place of fear. In other words, I know what I want or I know what we heard, but I'm going to change my mind because it feels really fucking uncomfortable. Then you're not allowed to change your mind. Why? Because then you're just doing it out of cowardice. You're avoiding the real truth. So back to you. If you're not sure what the problem is, ask yourself, when did it start? Ask yourself, what is the real problem, and put it in one sentence or less. Or ask yourself, when did it start? And then, subsequent to when did it start, ask yourself, well, why then? Why then? Why not 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years later, or 3 years earlier? Why then? Why not later? Why not earlier? Why then? And I guarantee there is some event or sequence of events that happen there that are going to begin to unlock the mystery. The thing is, guys, I'm trying to make you guys not dependent upon therapy. Why? Is therapy bad? No. I'm trying to make you not dependent on counseling, whether it's with a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a clergy person or a golden grandfather or aunt who just is so wise. Nothing wrong with that. Use those people. But the more that you can do on your own, the more powerful you become. Because you're still going to have to train in the off season. I mean, it's just like in sports. It's just like fucking learning the fucking violin or the bass violin. I played violin for 7 years, played bass violin then in 2 years because we didn't have any basses in the orchestra in junior high. So I had to switch over to bass. It's just like, I was good at violin because I practiced. I was not good at bass because by that time I was just over it. And our teacher, he reeked of cigarettes, and the fucking orchestra room was gray. And he was always having me practice etudes. And it's just like, this is so fucking boring. So I didn't practice. All right. So I'm trying to teach you guys these tools so that you can do the work out of session and make so much more fucking progress. All right. Next question. Lori Westerfield asked this question on TikTok. I have a 15-year-old daughter who has been to 4 therapists, but never opens up to them. Suggestions. A couple of suggestions. One, keep trying to find a new therapist because the right one will know how to crack them open. In fact, I would make that your opening question to therapists that you are interviewing first. I would say exactly that. My 15-year-old's been to 4 therapists. Do you have the power to open up a child who doesn't want to open up? And someone's got to have the fucking confidence to do it. It's just like, and they may all say, oh, I can do it. It's just like, yeah, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is. Now, they won't say that. I do with my clients. If somebody wants a money back guarantee, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. Why? Because I know I can do it. But if somebody is so shut down that they don't want to open up, there are those rare cases, and any therapist in the world will tell you, if somebody is not opening up, you can't fucking change. But in the case of a 15-year-old, you've got them there because they need to. So now we've got a bigger problem. But what's happening is a child is going to shut down. My question to you, Lori, is have you begun reading books on children, parenting teens? If not, you need to. Second of all, a child is shutting down because they don't feel safe. Their needs aren't being met. They aren't feeling heard. And they don't feel safe opening up, whether with a therapist or also at home. So then the question becomes, what are the messages that child is getting? If I were to be 1,000% completely honest with you, Lori, right now, my question to you is, what are you doing to heal you, Lori? I would want to know, what are the messages inside of you that are driving you? Because there is no greater influence in her life than her 2 primary parents, or if it's just one primary parent, in which case it's you. There's no person more powerful in her life than you and the other spouse, if there is one. That means you have profound impact on this person, obviously. And that means the more you do to heal you, the more power you have in her life. And if she is this shut down, she has been receiving messages that you may not have ever intended, but she is receiving messages about her worth, her value, her voice. And those are causing her to not feel safe opening up and being her authentic self. And so the more you heal you, nothing will transform your parenting more than you healing your own past. I want to share one little tidbit with you guys. Back when I was a pastor, a Lutheran pastor, one of the things at one of the churches I served, was to run the confirmation programs. And this was a good-sized church. And when the new confirmation kids, and in Christianity, in Lutheran church at least, my confirmation kids were roughly starting in, I think it was 6th grade, 7th grade. And I would meet personally in my office with each of the confirmation kids, with one of the other kids. So I'd meet them in twos. And they'd sit on the sofa there and, I'd share a, cookie or whatever. And we'd just talk. It was like 30 minutes. And I'd take some notes, jot down some notes, and just get to know them and so forth. And, because we're going to be working together for the next 3 years, right? And one of the questions that I would ask them in the very beginning was, give me 3 words to describe God. And every now and then you'd get some, smarty pants snot who'd say, one description, doesn't exist, or, shit like that, which is fine. Those are legit. But, whatever words they'd use, big, omnipotent, knows everything, whatever a 6th or 7th grader uses, I'd jot those down. And then we're talking about their sports or their theater that they're involved in or their family, or we're talking about all sorts of things. And then towards the end, I would ask them, well, give me 3 words to describe your parents. And I'd jot those down and so forth. So we're having this wonderful conversation. Do you want to know the most fascinating thing about these meetings? Every single time, with only the rarest of exceptions, the 3 words that they used to describe God were the exact same 3 words they used to describe their parents, or very, very, very close. So you want to know the power you have in parenting that 15-year-old daughter? You want to know the power you have with your 40-year-old son? The impact you have on your 62-year-old daughter's life if you're 93? They still want that love. They still want confirmation of the worth. When you're in the grave, we literally just counseled someone. Or was that my client this morning before I came into the taping? No, it was my client this morning. Parent is dead, and she still fears her mother from the grave. Her mother's voice is still inside of her. There is nothing more powerful that you can do to impact your child than to heal your own fucking past. Why? Because when you are young, your parent has absolute power. They are, for most intents and purposes, God. So imagine if you change and become a different parent who listens, who creates safe space for them to get their own stuff out, who values them, who supports them. You have just changed the very world in which they exist. All right, we're going to take just 3-4 more questions here.
I suppose if you had interviewed Jesus, you wouldn't have been surprised at the answer about those 3 characteristics.
Well, no, but then Jesus would say, well, I'm God. I'm handsome, and I like wine, and so forth. Some people are going to say, he didn't like wine. Really? What was his first miracle at the wedding at Cana? 168 gallons of water turned into wine, after all the wine had been drunk. So those of you that want to call the teetotaling thing, do your math. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Not the temperance pledge there.
That's right.
All right, here's a good one from YouTube. Pornakamala Prariel says...
Second time around. We already answered one from that person.
No, that was just when we were checking people in.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
So this first question from this person.
All fronts.
This is good. Why do I have so many spigots in my head? Co-worker, boss, cashier at the bakery, a neighbor, whatever, a look, a word, a gesture, and my head goes spinning. Everybody is a power source to me. Why?
That's right. And that is it. That you have just described pretty much everyone. Everyone who has not fully mastered themselves has all those spigots going in their head, all these different voices. And so like when I'm working with athletes, I used to do this thing when I'd be working with a group of athletes. I'd hold up, depending on their age, I'd hold up, let's say, a $5 bill, or what do I have here? A $10 bill. I'd say, I'll give $10. You'd be shocked when you're talking to a group of middle school students. I'll say, I'll give, $5, $10 to whoever can tell me what a spigot is. You'd be shocked. Fucking room full of middle school kids don't know what a fucking spigot is. It's like, you know what? And I am a big believer in public schools. I really am. I love public schools. My mother was a teacher, blah, blah, blah. I was public school, blue collar, all this. They don't know what a spigot is. Anyway, point is, I went on to explain that a spigot is just the hose, or the faucet on the side of your house that you hook the hose up to, that you attach your sprinkler, right? Or up in the North Country where I'm from, Minnesota, that hose is what you hose down your backyard in winter so that you have an ice rink to skate on and play hockey and shit like that, right? Okay. Well, the thing is the spigot has a thing on it, has a dial on it. Why? Because if you don't have that dial on it turned off, you're just going to have water running out of your fucking house all the time. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You got to have that dial to turn it up, to turn it down, to turn it off. Oh. So you describe pornicola, blah, 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 in front. You describe that you have all these spigots. In other words, you have all these voices, all these concerns for other people's opinions. That's all of us, right? And for some people, those concerns, those voices are so fucking loud and they're always pouring into you, those spigots, right? That the problem is that handle is broken off of your spigots. You don't have the power to turn them off. And so what I would say to these athletes, if you don't have the power to turn those off, if you're in math class and you're thinking about how cute your girlfriend is, because you can't turn off the girlfriend spigot, guess how good your math scores are going to be. If you're on the football field and you're looking up in the stands to see if mom and dad are going to be, are there, guess how effective you're going to be on the football field? Not very fucking effective because you're not focused. We call it focus. Okay, well, what distracts us from our focus in life is all those other fucking voices. And fundamentally, all those spigots that are going in your head and you can't turn them off, or that they're even still there, fundamentally springs from the notion inside a child when they are young that they are being taught that they can't trust their own voice. Because once you can trust your own voice, once you are given permission to trust your own voice, that gives you permission to still listen to other voices, yet turn down other voices, which means you have the power to turn off those spigots. So that means there's some message inside of you saying, no, your voice doesn't matter. Your voice isn't important. You have to listen to what everyone else says. That means you were raised being fundamentally oriented to an external power source. You have profound fear of what other people are going to think of you. And until you go into not just the fear, but the voice of where that originates, the messaging, where that message originates, and get that out, you're forever going to be tuned into and worried about, and therefore fawning or fleeing or fighting because you're terrified of what others are going to think of you and feeling like you have to answer to those voices, because if you don't answer to it, I won't like you, or I'll reject you, or I'll hurt you. That means there is still an origin message, like X-Men Origins, the movie, right? Or like Rocky, the origin of the Rocky movies was Balboa, right? Whatever the original one was, you have to go back to the origins, and the origin is somewhere in you where you were taught the message, some derivative of, don't listen to your own voice. You must listen to an external power source, and you must live in fear, because if you don't get confirmation of worth, if you don't do what they want or meet their needs or take care of them, they will reject you, which is confirmation. See, you suck. See, you don't matter. That's why we do this work, is to get those messages out of you. Okay, a couple more here. Nexus asked the question, why is my mother offering emotional support 25 years after I needed her to? Why now? You guys have heard me tell the story, a couple of stories on this show. I've had many people echo similarities of this, but I had one particular guy gone through special forces training. He said, Sven, when I finally completed it at my graduation and my parents come, my father looks me square in the eye and he says, son, I'm proud of you. And he says, Sven, I can't even tell you what that felt like. I'd waited my whole life for that. It was overwhelming. I couldn't believe it. It felt amazing. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. It felt incredible. Well, good. I had another fella complete also special force training, different branch, blah, blah, blah. Almost an identical situation. Graduation, or shortly after graduation, he had gone back home, whatever the situation. And father said, son, I'm proud of you and I love you. First time in his life his father had ever said that. I said, how did it feel? He said, well, what I said to the man was, thank you, Dad, something like that. I said, but I asked, how did it feel? He said, all I felt, Sven, was rage. I said, I'll bet. Tell me. He said, because the first thought in my head was, where was that 30 years ago, old man? Or 25 years ago, whatever it was. Where was that pride and love when I was a kid, when I fucking needed it? I don't need it now. So you asked the question, my mom's coming to me now and giving all this fucking emotional support. You say, why is my mother offering emotional support 25 years after I needed her to? Why now? Well, in all likelihood, A, maybe she's feeling guilt. B, maybe she's had some sort of a transformation of her own soul and wanting, but also I'm betting she's wanting something. Why would you change your tune unless you want something? And I'm betting she's wanting a relationship with you. Why now? She's feeling lonely. And see, this is the thing. This is where, and I hate to play these little power games, but, adults think they're so tough when they talk tough on their kids. You need to fucking grow up and quit being such an emotional fucking pussy and all this stuff. Well, you can talk tough now. And it gets really ugly. But your child that you're talking this way to and being a fucking dick to, one day they're going to have kids. And if you're a fucking dick to them, why would they trust you around their children? And you think you have absolute access. I'm the grandparent. I should have access. Yeah, but if you're a dick to your own children, why would your children believe that you aren't going to be anything other than dickish to your grandchildren? Furthermore, worse in some ways, you're going to become 65 one day and retire. You're going to be 75 one day. And I turn 58 next month. And as we age, what do we discover? Friends move on, move to different places, people die, and that sort of tinge of loneliness kicks in. And we want our children. We want to be close to our children. Why? In part to pour love into our love cup. To be our friend. Next is, why is your mother offering emotional support now? I'm betting she wants something from you. I'm willing to bet that she wants a relationship with you so that you'll pour love into her love cup. She's offering emotional support now, 25 years after I needed her to, which means she wasn't doing it 25 years ago or 15 years ago or 10 years ago, which means she expected you to pour love into her love cup, or she was just plain neglectful and absent. And now she's coming to you. Why? Is she offering to do it lopsidedly where she just gives it to you, or is she wanting a relationship? Is she simply wanting to heal what she broke, which is honorable, or is she wanting to heal what she broke so that she can have a relationship? See if she's doing it so she can have a relationship. See, now there's motive. See, if I'm just doing it to heal you, there's nothing in it for me. That's the honorable thing. But if she's doing it so that I can get something, well, then why do you think she wants the relationship? That would be my question, Nexus. Oh, she wants friendship and blah, blah, blah. So that what? So that she won't be alone as she ages? Oh, so she's in it for her. So that you'll be there to, wipe her ass or move her fucking walker, or what? In other words, is it why now? Potentially. It's because she sees you as filling some need for her. Or perhaps it's just, as I initially said, she feels guilt. She feels remorse. She feels like she wants to atone for what she's done. But to offer emotional support, notice what you didn't say that. Why is my mother offering emotional support now, 25 years later, after when I needed it? Why now? What you didn't say is, why is my mom apologizing now? She might have done that, but you didn't say that. And see, this is the video that I've told you guys about. I did a video in Christmas of 23. And I'm sitting outside. I've got a bomber jacket on. I talk about 7 things you can do to help your adult child heal. And all of those have to be motivated by, I'm here to help you heal. I'm not here to get anything out of it. I'm not here to have a relationship with you. That is 100% up to you. If you want that someday, great. But I realize I've so fucked our relationship. I've so fucked you that you can say no, and I would understand, but I want to do what I can to help you heal nonetheless. That is a completely other-centered, other-motivated action. Noble. By saying, I want a relationship because I want something. Now I can't even trust that you're fucking doing it for me. You didn't say your mother is apologizing. You're saying she's offering emotional support, which implies, it's more likely to imply a transaction. She wants something is what I'm inclined to believe. Has she fucking apologized? And furthermore, has her apology been a real apology where the apology is commensurate to, equal to the crime? The law of proportionate response, right? Is her apology proportioned to the level of the crime, or is it a 50-cent apology for a $500 crime? In which case, she's full of shit, and in which case, it's a fucking manipulation. She wants something. People who try to give a 50-cent apology for a $500 crime, they cheated it, and they'll only give a little bit of an apology, or they'll say, well, yeah, but it's been 6 months. I'm over it now. You should trust me now. It's like, fuck you. It never was an apology. Right. All right. Last questione.
Did I just get this in? I think it's important.
Do it.
All right. Andrea on YouTube says, Sven always says, if worst comes to worst, would you end your life? What if the answer is yes?
My question to you I'm assuming, Andrea, that you're asking this question. So Rob chooses to end the show on a question about this particular thing. Now, I'm not going to use that S word because if I do, TikTok will shut down my show. And Rob's always doing this.
I wasn't doing it for that reason.
I know. And Rob's not always doing it. I do it most of the time. I'm teasing Rob there. So what if you want to do that thing where, fade off into the ethers thing, no longer existing thing. And, I always ask clients, okay, if this thing were to come to pass, would you then, end it? And most people answer no. And you say, well, yes, I would. Well, do you know what that tells me? It tells me a number of things. First of all, I would want to ask you, well, how would you do it? I'd ask you that. As you know, I've been there. I have this 7-8 inch scars down my arms. I have been there. Literally. Bled for an hour, et cetera, et cetera. All right, I've been there. So I feel quite comfortable having this conversation. I'd want to know, how would you do it? And why that? All right, let's talk about it. And then I'd want to know the answer to this question. What's fascinating is you don't want to do that action now, which tells me your life isn't so terrible now. Your life would only be terrible if this particular thing happened, if this person left you, or if something went wrong in your life, this particular thing went wrong, or if you lost everything. That it's only then, which tells me that this person or this event has so much power over you that you would end all existence. And then we'd begin the line of questioning is, what do you think of the idea? And I would ask you, do you have children? And maybe you'd say no. And I'd say, if you had children, would you ever want another person to have so much power over your child that your child would do this if they lost them? Or would you ever want your own child, or let's say you do have a child, would you want your child to end it all if they lost their business or whatever this big thing is, after which, if this happens to you, you're convinced you would, and you would likely say, no, I wouldn't want that for my child. And yet, so what you're saying is this thing, this external thing has so much power over me, so much power. So do you see the weak position that you are in? And then what I would want to know is, where does this weakness begin that causes you to believe that you are so worthless that you must depend on this external thing to have worth? When were you first taught that you have so little worth that you must depend on this external thing to have any measure of worth? And that if you don't have this external thing, this person or this money or this whatever it is, that it's worth ending. I would want to know where this belief system began, and I'm willing to bet it's from way back where. Rob, is there a follow-up on here?
No, that's it for now.
Yeah, because ultimately, what would I do if someone said they would do it, they would end it? I'd want to drill down. Where does this come from?
Here's Andrea. You are excellent at what you are doing. I love you.
Oh, well, that's cool. I was willing to have a tiny little more interaction, but thanks. But ultimately, Andrea, you got to drill down. The origins always go back. I have been at the point of ending it. I have been there. 12 years. That type of depression, the S word that ends in L, that type of depression, 12 years. I've literally been where you are. Or if it's someone you love, I have been there. All right, so I'm not just fucking whistling Dixie here. And the bottom line is the origins always go back there. And so we got to drill down and find those fucking origins. And your own voice is feeling suffocated. That divine spark that exists inside of each one of us is being suffocated. And so those forces, those voices, those messages, that beliefs that are suffocating that voice, and that's what a depression is. That's when we go through the misery of a loss of a relationship or anything, loss of fortune, whatever it might be. Those voices and those messages have to come out and they have to be extracted. We got to get those trains of all those feelings moving through the station, get them into the station, get them out of the station, welcome those feelings in, painful as they are, and get them out using journaling and so forth. And so, yes, to all of you who sent in your questions, it's been great having you here on the Badass Counseling Show with my team, KC Remote, Sophia, the artist in absentia, and Rob the Rocket. Any closing thoughts, Roberto?
Just that somebody wrote in and then withdrew the question about how hard it is to date at age 73 after being together, married for a long time. I can relate, and all I can suggest is Just be aware of the absurdity and the great promise of life, no matter what age you may be.
And you speak that from experience, Rob, at 75.
Yeah, that's me.
And I got to be honest, you guys, he's been enjoying it, and ups and downs, just like any dating experience. But those of you who say it's, life's over at, I'm 54 and life's over, that, I'm all washed up. I'm like, Rob, and he's meeting these lovely women, and I've met one or two of them, and it's just, life isn't over until you decide to quit. In the immortal words of Bob Dylan, he not busy, or she not busy being born, is busy dying.
Yeah, or I would not feel so all alone. Everybody must get stoned.
Really? We ended my show on that?
I'm going to edit that out because you're so eloquent and lovely, and I'm sometimes just a fucking idiot. But I can fix that later.
But it was a great insert of that one song. That's Stones, right?
No, that's Bob Dylan.
That is Bob. Oh yeah,
Rainy Day Women.
That is such a mopey song. That tune, na 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 na, must get stoned, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, fine people, it has been delightful having you here. Like I said, it's great to have you here. Please come back. To all of you tuning in from Liverpool or Lackawanna, great to have you here. And have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.